Hi guys, today we are going to be bedazzling this teeny tiny trick-or-treat witch's cauldron. She is so cute. And we are going to be using my bedazzling kit to do so. In one of my last videos, I bedazzled this little teeny tiny trick-or-treat pumpkin using my very first bedazzling kit, which basically just has the trick-or-treat pumpkin and then everything you need to bedazzle this little teeny tiny pumpkin. But in this video, I talked about how I impulsively bought these witches' cauldrons to also make into kits, but I was told by somebody, I'm not gonna name names, but I was told by somebody that that probably wasn't a good idea because these would be too boring to bedazzle. Now, I heavily disagree with that statement, and some of you guys also heavily disagreed with that statement, so much so that a lot of you guys asked for a witch's cauldron bedazzling kit to be made. So I listened to you guys, and this is what that is. It is a kit that comes with one little teeny tiny itty bitty cutie witch's cauldron, and then all of the supplies you need to bedazzle it. I'm gonna quickly go over what exactly is inside each bedazzling kit, and then for everybody who has the kit and is currently bedazzling this cauldron with me right now, I'm gonna go over some tips and tricks that you can use to help you bedazzle. And even if you might not be bedazzling with me currently right now, these tips and tricks I'm gonna share with you guys are helpful if you ever wanna bedazzle anything. So in each kit, you will receive one little tiny cauldron, and then a package of gems, specially counted out to the number of gems you will need to complete this bedazzling project, and then a few extras in case you drop or misplace a few. A gem picker-upper pen, 2 gem trays, and a tube of glue. Also included are some instructions to help you along your bedazzling journey. Now that we know what's inside a kit, I'm gonna throw it over to future Michaela so she can explain some tips and tricks to help you bedazzle your cauldron. Hello everybody, I'm future Michaela, and I have finished my bedazzled cauldron. You can't see it just yet, but I promise I finished it, and I'm gonna take you through the process on how to bedazzle this cauldron. If you do have the bedazzling kit, first thing you're gonna do is crack it open and look at all your tools. You're gonna have a lot of tools in front of you. You're gonna have a gem picker-upper, you're gonna have some trays, some gems, some glue, and of course your little cauldron. Now before we can even start bedazzling, we need to prepare our items. We need to prepare our glue, prepare our gems, and also prepare ourselves, because it's gonna be a process. A fun process, but a process. Now when preparing our gems, we'll take both of our trays and set them down and open up our bag of gems. We'll sprinkle a fine layer of gems in each tray, making sure you can kind of still see the bottom. It's important, trust me, it's important in the process that you don't overfill your gem trays, or else in the future when you're going to pick up the gems, it's going to be a lot harder. Now you're going to give each of your trays a little shaky shake, sometimes multiple shakes, to get most of the gems flipped around to the right side, which is gems facing up. It's not going to be a real aggressive shake, or else all of your gems are going to go everywhere, and we do not want that. Once our gems are prepared, we have to prepare our glue. Now I'm just warning you, you need to be ready for the glue to come gushing out, because it will. Okay, it will. You gotta take off your first cap, take off our second cap. Everything's fine right now, there's no glue gushing everywhere, but we need to prepare ourselves, okay? Because it will happen. Now you take your first cap, which will have a little pointy end, right? We're gonna pierce the little tinfoil seal of the glue. Now, once you puncture that seal, I guarantee you the glue will start flowing, okay? So you're gonna need to have your second cap ready to put right back on before the glue can flow out. And sometimes a little glue does flow out, and that's okay. We'll just clean it up and move along with our business. But I'm just telling you, it will happen because these tubes are just, I don't know, pressurized. I don't know, there's something with these tubes. I always try to keep both caps on my glue, or else sometimes the glue will sneak out, because again, these tubes, they mean business. They really do. So I like to keep both this cap which always should stay on, right? Your second cap always should stay on unless you're puncturing the seal. And then the second cap. Another thing I need to mention, when working with your glue, use a light hand when squishing out the glue, okay? You really don't need to use a lot of pressure or else it will come out like Niagara Falls, and we don't want that. We want a little thin line, which I will get to in the future, but I'm just telling you right now, use a light hand, trust me. After we've prepared our items, we need to prepare ourselves. This will take 3 hours, 3-ish hours, depending on how fast you bedazzle. Now you don't need to do it in a sitting. You could bedazzle for a little bit and walk away and come back days later and finish it. Really, it's up to you how you want to do it. But whenever you leave your glue, make sure it's capped up, or else the glue will dry up at the end and then you cannot use it, and nobody wants that. We also need to be comfortable with our bedazzling tools and how to use them. Our picker-upper has 2 sides, a waxy side and a pointy side. I use the waxy side to pick up gems, and then the pointy side, if the gem is not exactly where I want it to be, I'll use it to push it into place. Now I will say this, not to scare you guys, because I know you can do it, but the pumpkin is a little bit easier to bedazzle than the cauldron. And I only say this because the cauldron has this weird ridge underneath here, which is kind of hard to bedazzle. We're gonna use the pointy end of our gem picker-upper a lot to push in the gems into this ridge. Now that we prepared our items and ourselves, it's finally time to bedazzle. This is the fun part. This is the part we've all been waiting for. It's time to put little tiny gems all over this thing. Our first step in the actual bedazzling process is applying a thin layer of glue onto the project. Now you can really bedazzle anywhere you want. You can put gems anywhere you want, work in any way you want, but there is a way to do it to make it look a little bit more cleaner, and that is starting with any significant openings or indents, such as the bottom, or these little handles. I like to start outlining those first so it looks a little bit more cleaner. Now you don't have to, but that is what I recommend. So we are going to start with putting a thin layer of glue on the openings, the bottom, and the little handles. Now I will say the cauldron has a little bit of a different texture than the pumpkin. The pumpkin was pretty smooth, and the cauldron has little tiny indents everywhere, so you will need to use a little bit more glue than you needed to use for the pumpkin, but not too much glue. We do not want to load up our surface with glue, because then the gems are just going to get lost in the glue and your pen is going to get all gluey, and that is not what we want. So make sure the layer is still thin, but thick enough where your gems will stick to the surface. Now when you're picking up your gems to bedazzle, make sure you're using a little light touch. You don't want to smash your pen into the gems, or else the tip of your pen is going to become flat and not easy to work with. So we want to use a light pressure when picking up our gems and placing them. Now if you put a fair amount of glue onto your surface and the gems still aren't sticking and you're wondering what's going wrong, don't worry, you're not doing it wrong. You just need to wait a few more seconds to let the glue get tacky and your gems will stick much better. This glue does dry pretty fast, so you want to work in small areas so your glue doesn't end up drying before you get to place that gem down. Like I said before, if you need to reposition any gem after you've placed it, just flip your little pen around and use the pointy side to push the gem into place. If you're working on one area, say the top, and you want to flip it around and work on the bottom area, just make sure the top area is completely dry before flipping it around, because if your gems are still wet, they can still move around and it might mess up the side you've already worked on. So just make sure it is dry before flipping it and doing another section. Once you've outlined all the significant areas like the top and bottom and little handles on the side, you can continue working in those lines and continue adding gems until it's completely covered And then you will have a bedazzled cauldron. Here is the final product. This is how my cauldron turned out. You'll have to let me know how you think it turned out in the comments, and also let me know what you think of this kit. If you're bedazzling along with me, please let me know how your cauldron turned out. Share some photos with me on social media. I would love, love, love to see how all your creations turned out. I really hope you guys enjoy this tutorial and video, and I really hope to see you in the next video.